You don't see that many Alfa Romeo 146s on the roads these days, and that's kind of reflected in the price that you can buy them. And you couldn't honestly say that the 146 is a gorgeous car to look at, because it's not. It's rather quirky in its styling. But Alfa were beginning to get things right with the 146 back in the mid-90s when they introduced this car, because before that they'd had terrible problems with reliability and rust and all sorts of things. You look at the interior of the 146, and it does look a bit dated now. It's more 1980s than 1990s. So-called leather seats which look more like plastic. You do get a good amount of rear leg room for the passengers in the 146. And remember, this is the slightly bigger version of the Alfa 145, 5 doors and a decent boot as well. So if at the moment you're looking for a used car and you want something that's not too big but not too small, and perhaps that is a little bit different but isn't too expensive, why not consider an Alfa Romeo 146? I bet you've probably never even considered buying one of these cars, but they're getting to be quite a good buy. There are a small amount around, some from main dealers and some from specialist dealers, but this car seems to be quite good value for money. The Alfa 146 was launched in 1995, a year after its baby brother, the 145, and the difference between the two cars is that one's a 3-door and one's a 5-door, and this car gets marginally more room than the 145. It's rather strange that they continued to make this car up until about 2000. Last cars of the 146 would be on an X plate, and they're fairly similar in terms of size and space to the 156. There are lots of engines to choose from in the 146 range: 1.6, 1.7, 1.8 and 2-litre petrol engines. No diesels, but the pick of the cars to go for are the twin sparks, which come in 1.6, 1.8 and in this 2-litre form. This car gets 150 brake horsepower, and it's very responsive and feels very nippy. It's got a nice sound to the engine as well. The steering is very sharp and responsive, nice clutch and gearbox, and it will still average around 32 miles to the gallon. So how would I sum up the Alfa 146? Well, it's the sort of car that you'd buy if you want to be a little bit different. You don't want to be the norm and have a Ford Focus or a Peugeot 306 or a Honda Civic or something like that. And it's pretty good value for money, and you have to be aware that there may be one or two little niggly problems, particularly with the electrics in Alfa Romeos, but apart from that, I reckon the 146 is a pretty decent car. The Alfa Romeo 146 and its smaller version, the 145, are unusual and rare sights on the road. Never a big seller, the 146 is coming down in price. Worth buying a car from a main dealer or a specialist, but beware tatty cars and watch for electrical problems.